Okay, Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome to our weekly Sunday program once again. Of course, we've been continuing to have these virtual sessions on a weekly basis. But just for those of you who have been wanting to visit the temple, this is just to let you know that the temple is open, but only for darshan. We don't have events or programs other than festivities. So everyone is more than welcome to visit the temple, be it during the weekdays or even the weekends. During the weekdays, the temple opens at 4:15 a.m. in the morning, and it will be open until 12 p.m. in the afternoon. So Monday to Fridays, you are more than welcome to visit anytime between 4:15 a.m. to about 12 p.m. And on the weekends, the temple is open again in the morning, 4:15 to 9 a.m., and then once again from 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. That's on the Saturdays and Sundays. So, in case you're missing seeing the deities, the darshan for the deities, you're all welcome to visit. We also have daily virtual darshan on YouTube channel, so you can get an opportunity to take darshan of our beloved deities, Sri Radhakirti or Gopinath. So that's been ongoing. So we don't have events or programs at the temple, but everyone is welcome for darshan. In fact, it's been open for a few months now. So in case any of you didn't get an opportunity to visit the temple, we encourage you to do so. On that note, we'll get started with today's session. Last week, we had a special presentation on the Bhadra Purnima campaign. So we're back to continuing with our regular sessions of Sunday programs on various topics. And today's topic is going to be on seeing Krishna everywhere. As you can see it on the slides, we're going to be having His Grace Anand Gaurang Prabhu, who will present on this topic. He was just inspired by this topic that uh, there is opportunity to meditate on Krishna on a daily basis, just in the way we lead our lifestyle. And he's going to be sharing his thoughts and reflection on how we can be conscious and meditate on Krishna on a regular basis in everything that we do um, during the day or work or whatever it may be. There's always ways to meditate and be conscious of Krishna, and we'll hear more about it. So, just a little bit of background about Anand Gaurang Prabhu. Many of you know he's pretty active with facilitating and conducting havans, but besides that, he is known for presenting on any and almost every topic. That too with short notice. He prepares up really informative and useful presentations. He's always known for his depth on presenting on various topics. So we're really grateful that he's agreed to speak at ISKCON Toronto today, despite his many other commitments. So without further ado, we'll pass it on to Anand Gaurang Prabhu. Hare Krishna Prabhu, welcome.
Hare Krishna, thank you for this wonderful opportunity. It's always an opportunity to purify myself. So this is an open secret, which is from Bhagavad Gita that Lord Krishna has given to us. So we will try to learn more collectively on how to see Krishna everywhere. Before we get started, we will chant the Mangal Charan prayers. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitamena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitamena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kathamayam Dadati Swapatantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapatakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sagitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatata Satarine Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Kirim Yat Kripata Mahamande Shri Gurum Dinataranam Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyeva Chapatitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pratayata Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gauratvise Namaha Namo Brahmane Devaya Go Brahmanetaya Jagaditaya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sude Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasidi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So before we get started of how we can see Krishna everywhere, how we can remember Krishna everywhere or all the time, how we can think of Lord Krishna, which is the instruction from Bhagavad Gita. The beauty is Krishna says you have to think of me, you have to remember me. And also the good news is he gives us ample examples of how we can think of Lord Krishna and remember him all the time. So that's what we are going to look at today. But before that, each one of us remember, we were all students at some point. We have children who are studying, etc. So each one of us remember and recollect things by different methods or modes of learning. So I'd like to put this out every time. Visual learners, some of us are visual learners. We like to see some pictures or videos and charts, everything. And then with our eyes, of course, that's the sense organ, and we are able to learn. Some of us are oral or auditory learners. We hear things and then we are able to remember those things much more vividly. So we are using more of our ears. And some of us use our tongue. We read it out loud, and you can do the same today as well. That's one of the reasons why we put it out in a PowerPoint presentation. So some of us do remember when we read the books or when we see the directions, 401 East, 401 West, it vividly stays in our mind. So according to Bhaktivinoda Thakur, whose appearance day was not long ago, he has taught us that even if one of our five senses is not involved in Krishna consciousness, then that sense organ becomes our enemy. So with that in mind, we thought it's much easier for different type of learners to follow a PowerPoint presentation, because there are pictures, there is information to read, as well as you're going to hear what we're speaking as well. So we are using at least 3 of the senses that you can see on the screen, but you can also use your pen and paper, or you can take some notes in your phone, make some notes so that it becomes easier for you to recollect those information that you feel it's important for you. So when you use the sense of touch to write down or to type something, then you're using at least 4 out of your 5 sense organ today. So for the next 45-50 minutes, we'll try to dive deep into the entire Bhagavad Gita, actually. So this is little unique and different. It's not just picking up one verse and going through that for long. So today we'll tackle it in a different way, where we look at the forest and then group them in different ways, from especially 7th chapter, 9th chapter, 15th chapter, etc., and also from Srimad Bhagavatam, 16th chapter of the 11th canto as well, so that we get a nice composite view of how we can see Krishna everywhere. This is scientifically proved. When we are able to see something on the screen, or see the speaker, or see things that are moving, and then when we are able to hear as well, then we are able to retain 50% of what we are learning for a longer period of time. And of course, the percentage increases if you say something and you write as well. So when you repeat what you learn, then the retention power is more as well. And when you actually execute it, then it's 90% of what we learn, we are able to retain it for a long period of time. And this is important as well before we get into the crux of what we wanted to discuss today. For anything, for us to retain anything that we are learning, remember the 5 R's. This is proved scientifically as well. It has to be relevant to us, and all of you are here today because it's relevant to you. So you need this information from Bhagavad Gita. Even though we have read Bhagavad Gita many times, we are just putting them in various buckets so that we can grasp the information a little easily today. It should be very important for us, and it is, and that's why all of us are here. And we will also use some recall codes. We will use many verse numbers as well, so that will make you remember. You can make a note of it as well. And I'll try to repeat myself a few times, because repetition causes a retention. And in a kirtan as well, somebody sings and somebody repeats, right? So that's the repetition. And also we'll try to do a review of it periodically and also at the very end. And the important part is the takeaway is how we reflect and introspect and internalize what we learn, because Bhagavad Gita has been there. For Bhagavad Gita was spoken over 36,000 times, because every day in the day of Lord Brahma, Lord Krishna appears, and his day is 8.64 billion years. So 4.32 billion years is daytime, and 4.32 billion years is nighttime. And Lord Krishna appears every day in Lord Brahma's life, and Lord Brahma is about 51 years. So if you calculate 51 multiplied by 365, it comes to about 18,000 plus. And he's spoken this also to give us one, as we read from the 4th chapter, 1st verse. So almost twice in the day of Brahma, Bhagavad Gita spoken. So, let's try to spend as much time as possible today and, pay our attention so that it benefits each one of us today. So two key verses where almost 2.5 lines are the same, exactly the same. So this is unprecedented, as you know, because it's so important that Lord Krishna stresses this twice. Most famous verse, all of us know these verses, 9.34 and 18.65, where Lord Krishna says, engage your mind always in thinking of me. So the stress is put here on thinking of Lord Krishna. Thinking means you can use other words like remembering Lord Krishna, seeing Lord Krishna. So that's the most important part that is stressed here, because after that, of course, we become a devotee and then offer obeisances and worship the Lord. But 2.5 lines are exactly the same words, one towards the end of 9th chapter, halfway mark in these 18 chapters, and one towards the end of the 18th chapter as well. But the message is engage your mind always in thinking of me, right? So the key word is always. So now we may be thinking, how can we think of Lord Krishna? Because I go to the temple once a week, and in my altar, I'm able to spend only 1.5 hours for me to do the chanting, etc. So how can I think of Lord Krishna all the time? So this is a common question that all of us have, and that's the answer that Lord Krishna has given repeatedly in many different ways in Bhagavad Gita. So seeing Krishna everywhere. So this is a significant verse that generated many verses. So this 6.30 generated several hundred verses within Bhagavad Gita. So Yomam pashyati sarvatra sarvam cha mayi pashyati tasyaham na pranashyami sachamena pranashyati. So here Lord Krishna says, for one who sees me everywhere, you turn here, there is Krishna, there is expansion, manifestation, energy. Turn here, everywhere you look around, there is Krishna. So Krishna is saying, for one who sees me everywhere and sees everything in me, I'm never lost, nor is he ever lost to me. So here the key is one who sees me everywhere, and that's the topic that we are going to discuss today, and who sees everything in me. So that's the Virat Rupa, the universal form that Lord Krishna displays to Arjuna in the 11th chapter. But today's topic is seeing Krishna everywhere. So we'll focus on the first part of this translation, for one who sees me everywhere. And of course, Krishna says, I'm never lost, nor is he ever lost to me. So how do we understand? So here, Lord Krishna is revealing to us the results of perceiving him everywhere and in everything. And when we say losing God, means allowing our senses and mind to drift away to all these prohibited things, lust, anger, greed, envy, pride, illusion. And also when we are having some miserable conditions in our life, if we are dwelling in that or we are drowning in that, then we are lost, because we are not even thinking of the Lord, who's much bigger than we may think the problem is bigger, but Lord is much bigger than the problem. So we forget to think about God when we are in trouble or when we are distracted towards greed and envy, etc. So not to lose God means being connected to the Lord through the devotional service that Srila Prabhupada has taught us. So seeing everything means, as we mentioned, it's the Virat Rupa, everything is within Lord Krishna. So this is another verse, right? Slowly we are moving towards what are all the different opulences and manifestations of Lord Krishna that we can remember, so that we can remember Lord Krishna all the time. So as we are seeing these manifestations, we are able, it springboards our mind to Lord Krishna. So it deflects our mind towards Lord Krishna. So here in Bhagavad Gita 10.17 as well, the previous verse that we saw was 6.30, where Lord Krishna is saying, if for one who sees me everywhere, then I'm never lost, right? And here, then later on, Arjuna is asking in the 10th chapter, "O Krishna, O Supreme Mystic, how shall I constantly think of you and how shall I know you?" So he's asking this beautiful, straightforward question on behalf of all of us, right? In what various forms are you to be remembered? So what we're going to see is bona fide actual words of Lord Krishna, which is described in Bhagavad Gita, for us to very easily remember Lord Krishna, see Lord Krishna everywhere, think of Lord Krishna, as the two key verses 9.34 and 18.65 suggest that we do. So Arjuna's question is, how can we see you everywhere? How can we remember you all the time, right? So now the question is, Arjuna is already seeing God face to face, as we know in the Battle of Kurukshetra. He's already seeing the Lord face to face. So then why is he asking this question? So he's asking this question on behalf of all of us in Toronto and Greater Toronto area and everywhere else. For our benefit, he's asking this question so that Lord is giving the answer, which is applicable forever. You know, it's not just was applicable 5,000 odd years ago when Bhagavad Gita was last spoken, but it is applicable forever now and in the future for anybody in any country as well. So he's asking us, asking this question on behalf of us, my dear Krishna, how can we live spiritually within this material world? Because all of us are grahasthas like Arjuna. So how can we live spiritually in this material world when we are not able to see the Lord face to face? So that's the question that Arjuna is asking. And he's inquiring about Lord's, you know, you can think of this acronym MORE, manifestations, opulences, representations, energies and expansions, right? So MORE, and then you can add one more E, and that comprises of all this 260 or 270 opulences that Lord Krishna is teaching us in Bhagavad Gita. So it's an open secret. We will go through that, and you will understand how easy it is for us to remember Lord Krishna. If you are remembering Lord Krishna 0% of the time, other than when we are in the temple or in the home altar, how we can increase it to 10%, 15%, 20% gradually, and go to the maximum extent of thinking of Lord Krishna all the time. This is work in progress for all of us. Not that somebody can say that, yeah, I'm thinking of Krishna all the time, but more we repeatedly hear the instructions of Lord Krishna that he's given us, then we are increasing the percentage of us being able to remember Lord Krishna, thinking of Lord Krishna, and more importantly, seeing Lord Krishna through the manifestations, expansions, energies of Lord Krishna as well. So we can think of Lord Krishna, remember Lord Krishna, see Lord Krishna outside of the four walls of the temple and four walls of our home altar as well. So even if we are doing the normal activities, which is what we do most of the time, because we need to drop our children in school, we have to go to work, buy grocery, etc. So we can still very easily remember Lord Krishna based on the question that Arjuna has asked, and based on the hundreds of verses that Lord Krishna instructs us later on, and which we will cover today as well. So this is transforming the mundane to become divine. And even though some things may sound like secular, how it turns into spiritual by Lord Krishna's instructions. That's what we are going to see. So seeing the unseen through the seen. So that's what we are going to cover today. Seeing the unseen through the seen, right? So an example that I just put here is for a child, when we say electricity is very important, he will not understand it because he cannot see the electricity, but he's here playing this small video game or playing with iPad or iPhone. But when you say your iPad, your iPhone or PS3, whatever you're playing, will not work if the electricity is not there, then you will know the importance of this unseen thing, which is called as electricity, because what he's seeing is his iPhone or iPad, right? So when he's able to see the unseen through the seen, then he can understand the importance of electricity. So similarly, when we are able to see the manifestations, expansions, energies of Lord Krishna, and we know who's behind that, then we are able to remember and know the importance of Lord Krishna as well. So as you can see here, the child will know the importance of electricity only when he knows that he's able to play the game or see that cartoon because of electricity being in the background, even though he cannot see that. And remembering the person through the things that belong to. This is a fascinating example that Srila Prabhupada, this confounder Acharya A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada has given us, is that once Srila Prabhupada was asked, how can one see Krishna in everything? Exactly, that was the question that was asked, the topic that we are discussing today, right? So Srila Prabhupada said, do you see on my desk, what do you see? And then the disciple said, we see your eyeglasses, right? And then Prabhupada said, if I'm miles away, if I'm in India, but still when you look at the glasses, what comes to your mind? So the disciple said, we think of you, we know it is your glasses, Srila Prabhupada. Then Srila Prabhupada said, yes, you're seeing me in the glasses. So in the same way, Krishna, you can see Krishna everywhere and in everything through the things that belongs to Krishna. Right, so you may have a small shoe of your child, baby, when your child was, he may be or she may be 20 years old, but you may have kept the little baby shoe or some of the things that your child made when the child was very young, and you may still have it. So the child may be in college or in a different country, but when you see those things, naturally your mind gravitates to your child. So similarly, when you see something that belongs to some other person, you're thinking of them. So when you are able to see things that belongs to Lord Krishna, then you'll be able to remember Lord Krishna. That's the beautiful example that Srila Prabhupada given. And the good news for us is everything belongs to Lord Krishna. As in 10.8, Lord Krishna says, Aham sarvasya prabhu matta sarvam pravartate. I am the source of all the spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me, including the planets, right? So again, he repeats in 5.29, Bhoktaram yakyatapasam sarvaloka maheshwar. Sarvaloka is the, everything emanates from him, all the, planets. So within the planet as well, everything belongs to Lord Krishna. So why would it be difficult for us to remember Lord Krishna? So we're going to get into the nuts and bolts of what Lord Krishna explains throughout Bhagavad Gita. Again, it's not something that we are inventing and presenting to you. All we are displaying is what is there in Bhagavad Gita, putting them in various buckets so that you are able to remember more of Lord Krishna, see of Lord Krishna than we did yesterday. So that's the intent of today's class. So, and it is also said advanced devotees see everything as a manifestation of the Lord. So I just took these two verses from Chaitanya Charitamrita. So this is the discussion, Samvada between Ramananda Roy and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. As you know, the roles are reversed here. So Ramananda Roy is giving most of the instructions to Supreme Personality of God, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But in between, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also speaks, because Ramananda Roy says, oh, you are the Supreme Lord. And then at that point in time, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, for him, everything he sees here and there is but a manifestation of Lord Krishna. Again, dovetailing into the topic that we have on hand, which is seeing Krishna everywhere. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is also explaining everywhere he immediately sees the manifestation of the Lord. Okay? And that's what we are trying to extract from these verses of Bhagavad Gita, so that it aligns with what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teaching to Ramananda Roy as well in the Madhya Lila 8th chapter. So that's Ramananda Roy there and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu during his South Indian tour, South India visit, after he took the sannyas initiation. I took a verse from the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. This is Maharaj Nimi meeting the Nine Yogendras. So Nine Yogendras are the sons of Lord Rishabdev. As we know, Lord Rishabdev's eldest son is Bharat Maharaj, who became a deer, and then Jada Bharat, he became Jada Bharat. But then Maharaj Rishabdev had 100 sons, and then in between, 9 sons are also part of the 100 sons, and they are the 9 Yogendras. And here is this description of Havis, Sri Havis, one of the 9 Yogendras, where he's saying he sees systematically everything in relation to Supreme Lord. So again, the topic, what we are discussing today is seeing Krishna everywhere, and throughout, as you can see here from Chaitanya Charitamrita, from Srimad Bhagavatam, from Bhagavad Gita, it all aligns to that. It's a bona fide way of us trying to remember or see Krishna and think of Lord Krishna everywhere in our day-to-day activities. So those are the 9 Yogendras who are coming to see Maharaj Nimi. And Srila Prabhupada in his book, Raja Vidya, the King of Knowledge, says this: it is not very difficult to see Krishna everywhere in the creation, for he is present everywhere. Anywhere we turn around, Lord Krishna is there. Okay, so with that little introduction, we'll get into the details. So what are Lord Krishna's manifestations, opulences? So as I mentioned, remember M-O-R-E. Okay, M stands for manifestations, O for opulences, R for representations, E, more, M-O-R-E, and then add one more E, which is expansions, right? So in a way, in the manifestation, opulences, representations, energies, and expansions, opulences are also referred to as vibhuti. So all of them will fit into these sort of heading of representations, opulences, manifestations, etc. So what are those, right? So the focus is to, the purpose is to focus on Krishna, okay, not on any specific manifestation like shark or lion, etc., right? But it's a jumping point for us. It's a springboard for us to think of Lord Krishna. So that's the intent of Lord Krishna explaining these manifestations to Arjuna, and through Arjuna to all of us. Okay? So the Lord helps us by giving specific examples in Bhagavad Gita. It's scattered in 7th chapter, 9th chapter, 10th chapter, and 15th chapter in Bhagavad Gita. And for those of you very knowledgeable in Srimad Bhagavatam, the 16th chapter of the 11th canto describes many things that have been described by Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. So it's many of those things are again stressed in the 16th chapter of the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam as well. So overall, there are 269, at least 269, let me put that, there could be a few more that I may have missed, but 269 opulences is more than enough for us to think of Lord Krishna most of the time or all the time, right? And we'll see how we can do that. So opulence means wealth or affluence or abundance, and vibhuti means exceptional, that we can't even think of, right? So these are all the vibhuti or exceptional opulences of the Lord that are being described here. So 16 manifestations, these are not very difficult for us to understand. These are common elements that we interact with on a daily basis, or most of us deal with it. We'll be able to comprehend that very easily. We have heard these verses many times, but today it's a new twist. Let's consciously focus on these items, and again, use that as a jumping point to think of Lord Krishna, because that's the intent here. So manifestations, opulences, etc. So in 7th chapter, Lord Krishna talks about, I'm the taste of water, and goes on, right? As you can see here, I just extracted those opulences that Lord Krishna explains in the 7th chapter and displayed it here for your reference, easy reference, right? So instead of turning through the multiple pages of Bhagavad Gita, which you should do, but for today, in our focus study group, we want to see, okay, taste of water. We all are drinking water or juice. Even if we say, yeah, but how can we think of Krishna when we're eating chapati? Yeah, but even to make a chapati, you need to add water into that flour so that you can make a chapati, right? So this water is integral part. 70% of our brain has water, 70% of our body has water, and water has got 3 avatars as well: solid, liquid, and gaseous. Just like Lord Krishna's got multiple avatars or incarnations, and water is used for purifying ourselves, not just in Hinduism but also in Islam. They wash their hands and legs several times a day before they do their prayers, etc. So Krishna is explaining taste of water. So not just taste of water, taste of juice, we can think of Lord Krishna. And when we think of water, we can think of Lord Krishna when we're taking bath, and in any other circumstances as well, when it comes to water, when we're seeing big bodies of water. Krishna also explains about ocean, etc. But we can think of, how can we not think of Lord Krishna, because we cannot survive without drinking water. Similarly, Lord Krishna says he's the light of the sun and the moon. Many times he says this: I'm the sun, I'm the moon, I'm the the vegetables grow because of the moon, etc. Right? So we are all alive. We're all in this comfortable temperature. Yeah, it might be going to -20 during winter, but still we are able to survive. Just imagine if the earth was just a few feet away from the sun, or to few feet closer. Scientists say that we are either frozen to death if we are few feet away of the earth, or if it was few feet closer, we are all burned to death, right? So it's perfectly orchestrated by Lord. So how can we not think of the Lord Krishna through this explanation that Lord Krishna gave, sun and the moon, we have to but think of Lord Krishna. He talks about the syllable Om repeatedly in the 7th as well as in the subsequent chapter. He talks about Om, ability in man. You can interpret this in many different ways, but basic thing is, any strength. He talks about that as well. Original fragrance of the earth, right? So this does not necessarily have to be only when there is rain, because when there is rain, you can feel that freshness in the air, the fragrance, right? So that is Krishna. But then, even if any one of you have to go to work and you're using fragrance, any fragrance, then naturally we have to think of Lord Krishna. We can expand it in a way that in our day-to-day activity we can always think of Lord Krishna. Heat in the fire, right? Winter is coming fast. We have heater in the car, we have heater in the office, heater in the house, etc. So that's the heat in the fire. Eventually that heat is what is keeping us alive. We have body heat as well, so we can think of Lord Krishna in our normal day-to-day activities, without even when not just when we are chanting or in our altar or not in the temple, but we can think of Lord Krishna. He talks about penances, right? So penances, it's prayashchitta. Prayashchitta is typically atonement, which means it's corrective action. The damage is done, and then we do what is prescribed. Of course, this Hare Krishna Maha Mantra is sacrifice, is austerity, as well as its penance, right? So sacrifice, subtle differences, but for practical purposes, you can say it's going through voluntary pain to prevent involuntary bigger pain, right? So we all go through that austerity. So penance is also a prayashchitta or atonement. Original seed of all existence. We can think of seed that grows into big trees and multiple fruits and multiple seeds from each one of those trees. So he's the original seed of all existence. So he's the father of all the living entities, he says, right? The Lord Krishna. Intelligence of the intelligent. So you may have a smart person in your class, in your in university, in your school, in your work, etc. So you can but easily think of Lord Krishna, because Krishna says intelligence of the intelligent. Great scientists are there. You can think of them. Prowess of all powerful men. So this connects with the ability of man as well. He goes on, goodness, passion, ignorance, and everything rests upon him, right? So everything rests upon means you can think of even Mother Earth or Earth on Earth, all these big buildings and elephants are all resting on Mother Earth, and Mother Earth and the whole universe actually rests on Ananta Seshus, an expansion of Lord Krishna, like the white seed. Multiple universes are like the seeds on his head, right? So very easily we can think of Lord Krishna. Even a building is being built, you can see the foundation is there, and then they build the building. Oh, that's everything rests upon him. Krishna says, okay, when you see a building, naturally our mind will gravitate towards thinking of Lord Krishna. So, and in chapter 32, he goes on to explain more of his opulence. His double 32 manifestations or vibhudis are there. Ritual, like when there is some fire ritual and some sacrifice. Sacrifice can be a mantra. Sacrifice means yajna. It can be a nama yajna, chanting the holy names, or it can be a fire yajna. You can think of Lord Krishna, because he's saying he is that. And offering to the ancestors as well. Swada, it is said instead of swaha, to the ancestors. And Pitru Paksha is right now from the 20th of this month to 5th. And this is not like a standalone thing that somebody does and not that we do participate, because Narada Muni is teaching us in the 7th canto about taking part in this Pitru Paksha, where we owe to our ancestors as well. Eventually, it is worshipping Lord Krishna, because Krishna says amongst the ancestors is Aryama. And Krishna says, I am the butter. And the transcendental chant, when you chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, is not different from Lord Krishna, which we know. And I am the butter. So how can we say Krishna is a butter thief, right? So because Krishna is saying that he is actually the butter. And he's saying he's fire, Agni. Actually, not once, not twice, not 3 times, not 4 times, 5 times in Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says that he is Agni. And once in the 11th chapter, Arjuna is also saying, my dear Lord, you are Agni. So anytime you see a fire, you're cooking, Matajis are cooking in their house or in the temple, there is fire. Oh, how can we not think of Lord Krishna? He's repeated that several times. So naturally, our mind will gravitate towards seeing Krishna everywhere, because there is fire everywhere. Even if there is an unfortunate forest fire, you're seeing something, when you're watching TV, suddenly it comes. Not that you'll all spend time on watching, but in case if you see that, naturally your mind will gravitate towards thinking of Lord Krishna. And Krishna says, I'm the father of the universe. When you see your father as well, you can think of Lord Krishna, because Lord Krishna is there as the Paramatma in everybody's heart as well. I'm the father, I'm the mother, I'm the support, I'm the grandsire, purifier. Syllable Om, again, it's being repeated. And also he's saying he's the Veda. So there are many, many ways. Everywhere we turn around, we can look for Krishna, right? Because if you say out of sight, out of mind, Krishna cannot be out of sight at all, because he's there everywhere. And in the 9th chapter, he goes on, I'm the goal, I'm the sustainer, I'm the master, right? So everywhere there is a master at work, you may call him manager, etc. So in a way, you can think that power and everything, you can think of Lord Krishna there. Most dear friend, we all have friends, anybody we can see, we can think of Lord Krishna. And also the resting place aligns with the previous chapter that we saw. And also he withholds and sends forth the rain. Now in Toronto, there's a lot of rain. So every time we see a rain, not just we think of Indra, because Krishna says Indra is representing him as well. But you hear Krishna in the 9th chapter clearly says that he's the one who actually gives the rain as well. So we will always be grateful. We may not know the value of water. We may think, yeah, at least I don't need to water my lawn. But just imagine if a farmer, if he's not getting the rain, none of us will have prasad, right? We cannot have the vegetables and fruits without the rainwater. So it's critical. Death personified, right? So even if somebody is dying, how can we not think of Lord Krishna? Because he's giving us this instruction that he's also death personified, and he's the enjoyer and master of all the sacrifices. So when we chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, we are chanting it to please the Lord, not for us to get a better job or for more money, right? So we know the translation that Srila Prabhupada starters is Hare Krishna and Rama. Hare is the vocative form of Srimati Radharani, Hara, and then all attractive is Lord Krishna, and the reservoir of all pleasure is Rama. Please engage me in your service, right? So he is the only enjoyer and master of all the sacrifices. So as far as the 10th chapter is concerned, if you would like to take a photograph, please do so, because it takes many, many hours to put this together. So might as well you can benefit from this if you feel that you're inspired to take the shortcut, as you see here. So the 10th chapter, because there are 79 opulences, what we've done is put that in various groups: animals, birds, fishes, like that, based on what Krishna is saying. So when you see any plant, you can think of Lord Krishna, because here he's saying, so let me go from the top line and we'll pick some of them. Because of time, we may not be able to go through each one of them. But Lord Krishna says amongst the animals, he's Ucheshava. Ucheshava is the horse that came during the churning of the ocean of milk. Airavata is the elephant that came during the churning of the ocean of milk, 8th canto. Surabhi, the cow. The first thing that came during the churning of the ocean of milk was Surabhi, the cow. And then Lord Krishna also says lion. So the majestic part of this lion and the other part of other animals is what Lord Krishna is saying. It's a representation of Lord Krishna here. So it does not have to be during the churning of the ocean, when we hear that pastime alone, that we can think of Ucheshava and think of Lord Krishna. But again, the springboard to Lord Krishna, remembering or seeing Lord Krishna as any horse that we may see, that should jumpstart our memory to go towards Lord Krishna. Any elephant, whether it could be a picture, it could be in any zoo or anywhere else you see any elephant, you can think of Airavata and then think of Lord Krishna. Same thing with cow, any cow or lion. And then any bird. Krishna is explaining amongst the birds is Garuda, but any bird that we can think automatically, we can think of Lord Krishna. Fishes, amongst the fishes is shark, but any fish we can think of Lord Krishna. Vasuki is a snake, Ananta is a snake. So when we see any of the reptiles, we can think of Lord Krishna. So here, the opportunity is given to us for us to just get deflected from wherever you are towards Krishna, right? So it is said that you can wake up a sleeping man, but you cannot wake up a person who's pretending to sleep, right? So if somebody is pretending to sleep, you wake him up, he's not going to wake up. So here, Krishna is giving all this to us so that very easily we will be able to remember him. So it's just a wake-up call for us when we are sleeping. Yeah, look at me, I'm here everywhere, right? So goes on. Banyan tree, as you know, it's a sacred tree. We may not see many of these banyan tree here, but in India, you know, it's considered very sacred. Material creation is talking about this wind and Himalaya mountain, any mountain it could be. So for those of you who go to see Rocky Mountain, right? So in Calgary area, or you go to Colorado, you have this Rocky Mountain, humongous mountain. And many of you would have gone to Himalayas as well, Char Dham, Yatra, etc., Gangotri, Yamunotri. So ocean, not only the oceans that are there, that are visible to us, Atlantic Ocean, Pacific Ocean, Bay of Bengal, Indian Ocean, but also we know there are other oceans like, you know, sugarcane ocean and liquor ocean and other oceans as well. So we can automatically think of Lord. Some of you may go on vacation. If you go to any vacation, yeah, you're going to see an ocean there, and then you can naturally, it'll trigger you to think of Lord Krishna, because those are the examples that Lord Krishna has given, because they are the manifestations, vibhuti or opulences or representations of Lord Krishna. And Lord Krishna also says he's the super soul. So you can perceive the presence of Lord Krishna everywhere, because the super soul, Lord Krishna, is there as a Paramatma, not only in human being, but in all the animals and other living entities as well. And he's saying that he's Vyasadev. Vyasadev is the 17th incarnation of Lord Krishna. So Vyasadev penned down all the scriptures. So in a way, God is writing about God. How can it be faulty? Right? So it's perfection there. So he's explaining that amongst the incarnations is Vyasadev, and Bhrigu. Bhrigu is is one of the sons of Lord Brahma, and we know the pastime in the 89th chapter of the 10th canto, where he tests the patience of Brahma, Lord Shiva, as well as Vishnu. And of course, it was proved beyond doubt that Vishnu is the most greatest of all, based on that pastime as well. Aryama, as we just heard, amongst the ancestors, Lord Krishna says he's Aryama, and Ushana is Sukracharya. So Sukracharya, Krishna says he is Sukracharya, even though Sukracharya was the spiritual master for the demons. We see that he's appearing prominently in the 8th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, where he brings back the life of Bali Maharaj. Bali Maharaj was killed. Later on, he brings him back to life, and then he goes and captures the Indra Loka. And then we know the pastime, Aditi prays, worships the Lord through Payovrata sacrifice, as well as through Purusha Sukta mantras. And then Vamana Dev appeared. So that is Ushana or Sukracharya. And Sukracharya also had two sons, Sanda and Amarka, and they were the material teachers of Prahlad Maharaj. Even though Prahlad Maharaj was not paying attention to them, Hiranyakashipu wanted Prahlad Maharaj to learn from him. That is Ushana's two sons as well. And Krishna says he's not different from Arjuna as well. That's why it's called Bhagavad Gita, because beautiful questions by Arjuna. And of course, Sanjaya is explaining to Dhritarashtra as well. So Arjuna is also non-different, because he's a powerful personality. He's representing Lord Krishna. And you can see here, Brihaspati, Kartikeya. Kartikeya is Muruga, Lord Muruga. For those of you from South India, he appears, there is reference to Lord Kartikeya in the 50th chapter. This is the Muchukunda pastime as well. Varuna is appearing very prominently in Srimad Bhagavatam as well. The Kaumodiki club, we read from Mahabharata actually. So Kaumodiki club was given to Lord Krishna by Varuna to Agni, and then to Agni to Lord Krishna. Same thing, the Gandiva bow is given to Arjuna by Varuna to Agni, because Agni is saying, I need all this for them, and then he's giving. So Varuna appears prominently in our scriptures as well. Yama, Kandarpa is the Cupid, and we know that Pradyumna is an expansion of Kandarpa. We know the Sambara pastime that we read 10.55, 10th canto, 55th chapter, the beautiful, beautiful pastime. So Krishna is saying that he's non-different from Pradyumna, who's actually the son of Lord Krishna and Rukmini as well. So many, many, many more ways for us to think of Lord Krishna. So he says, I'm time. You know, all of us get older because of time. You know, we are seeing the time in the computer, in our watch, in our phone, everywhere. And, you know, we cannot buy back even a second that is lost. We may be the richest person, but we cannot get back the moment that is lost. So there are many, many more examples, death and conclusive truth and thunderbolt also. And in the 11th canto, I'm going to not go through a lot of details here. There are many more opulences, right? 138 more opulences. Not more, I won't say more, because some of them are repeated, as you heard from Bhagavad Gita in the 16th chapter of of Srimad. Sorry, in this case, I'm sorry, it's a typo. That is not Bhagavad Gita chapter 11, but it is Canto 11, chapter 16 here. So 138 opulences are explained here by Lord Krishna, and I put some in red because red is something that is new in Srimad Bhagavatam 16th chapter of the 11th canto, but it is not there in Bhagavad Gita, or that is repeated twice within this 11th canto 16th chapter. As you can see, many more, right? So maybe we'll pick a couple from here. He talks about gold, right? Gold is an integral part of everybody's house. Some little more, too much, there is gold. So we can think of Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna also talks about that he's Hanuman. As you can see there in the line of important personalities. He's saying he's Daksha. Sometimes we get upset with Daksha because of the pastime with Lord Shiva, where many things happen in the fourth canto, but he's saying he's Daksha. Sudarshan, he's saying he's not different from the Sudarshana Chakra. Sudarshana Chakra is the most potent form of Lord Krishna, and appears very often, in Srimad Bhagavatam as well. Jayadratha pastime, Arjuna was saved because it went and covered the sun. Ambarish Maharaj pastime, it saved Ambarish Maharaj from Durvasa Muni. It killed Paundraka, it killed Mura the demon, Shishupal, many pastimes as well. So you can see here, Lord Krishna is giving us ample opportunities to see Krishna everywhere. Strength and spiritual knowledge and humility, all that describes Lord Krishna. Even ghee. So ghee is non-different from Lord Krishna. And he repeats again that I'm the taste of water. Okay, so this is in the 16th chapter of the 11th canto. So should we not remember Lord Krishna by Bhakti Yoga? That's a normal question. Oh, we have to think of Lord Krishna. As we already explained, yes, undoubtedly, we have to directly remember Lord Krishna. But all these examples are given by Lord Krishna for us to actually springboard from whatever we see. We have to see beneath the surface, because Krishna is behind the scenes everywhere. And then automatically we'll think of Lord Krishna's 2-arm form or 4-arm form, even though we are looking at a horse, because that was just a jumping point to think of Lord Krishna. So Lord Krishna wants us to constantly think of him, see him by connecting to worldly things. So not just see him during our japa time or arati time or abhishek time, right? So springboarding it towards the spiritual activity. Slowly we are approaching Krishna, but remembering Krishna more often than what we are used to. Okay, so I have some more. I'm going to go through these slides a little faster, because this is just for you to understand the structure and how it can be used for our benefit, right? So we have this Pablo Picasso. Picasso is one of the great painters, right? So when you see his painting, so for people who know his painting, when they see his painting, they will not say, yeah, this is a painting. No, they'll say that's Pablo Picasso's, right? So they know who's behind that beautiful painting, right? So we have to see beneath the surface. As you see there, you have the iceberg. So what you see is only very little outside, but Krishna is right at the foundation of everything, right? So anything that we see, Krishna is behind, so we can think of Lord Krishna. So he's inside everything. So Michelangelo's quote is very relevant. I saw an angel in a marble and carved it until I set him free. So he's able to see, not just a stone, he's able to see that there is an angel inside, and he's able to carve it, right? So for an untrained eyes, it was just a stone, but not for Michelangelo. And that's what, Srila Prabhupada wants us to get trained to see Krishna everywhere, see beneath the surface, right? Beneath the obvious. So here, if somebody says, I know devotees don't drink coffee here, but you have the coffee beans here. If somebody says, oh, there is a human face there, oh, where is it? So let's get trained to see it. That's what we are trying to see through these 200 and odd opulences. You can see there is a face that is actually merged with these coffee beans here. If somebody says that there is a hidden tiger here, oh, where is the hidden tiger? Actually, it's the word Hidden, the stripes of the tiger that is there. So training our eyes to see beneath the obvious is what we can do, or we need to get trained to see Krishna everywhere. Okay? So a barber will see everybody's hair. When he walks in a mall, when he's not working, he's looking at everybody's head. A cobbler will look at everybody's shoe, right? So what you're interested in is what you will see. Similarly, When devotees, we want to see the presence of the Lord everywhere. And that's what is this training that Srila Prabhupada has given us through these beautiful Bhagavad Gita as it is. So a few pictures before we wrap it up. We covered this in the form of a text, but I just put some pictures here so that it's getting registered much better in our minds. I'm the life of all that lives, Lord Krishna says in 7.9. So we see that different living entities live for different time period, you can say, right? A mayfly lives for 30 minutes, housefly for 1 month. So if you see a housefly that was irritating you, and it comes back after 2 months, it's a different housefly, because the lifespan of a housefly is only 1 month. Tortoise live, some of them lives for about 200 years. Sequoia tree, it's a tree, but it's a living entity, lives for 3,000 years, of course. Lord Brahma lives for 311 trillion and 40 billion years, etc. So I'm the life of all that lives, right? So some of these amoeba live for 250 million years, etc. So when we look around, how can we not think of Lord Krishna? How can we not see Lord Krishna? How can we not remember Lord Krishna? So Krishna also says, I'm the intelligence of the intelligent, right? So as I said, you may have some intelligent students in your class, wherever you are. At your work, you may have some very intelligent people, but you also have some towering intellects throughout the history, right? Shakespeare, even spiritualists, right? But of course, you think of Rupa Goswami. Oh, unbelievable! If you Chitra Kavitva and other verses of Rupa Goswami, when we read that, we are in awe. So anybody who's intelligent, even materially, how can you not think of Lord Krishna? Because he says, I'm the intelligence of the intelligent. And a few more examples just for us to jumpstart our mind towards seeing Krishna everywhere. Krishna says, of course, I'm the sun and I'm the moon. So we are seeing sun and the moon every day. But from tomorrow, we're going to look at them. Not that you're going to look at them and have a problem with your eyes, but when you feel the presence of the sun during the daytime, when you're seeing the presence of the moon during the nighttime, you have to think of Lord Krishna. You have to see Lord Krishna. And many, many more verses about fire of digestion as well, right? So every day, Krishna is so merciful. Not only he gives all the food items, right? So, and still he says 9.26, Patram Pushpam Palam Tam, if you offer with love and devotion a leaf or fruit, we think, oh, yes, I'm sacrificing my fruit. Everything belongs to Lord Krishna. We are offering what is Lord Krishna back to Lord Krishna. Yes, we may have purchased it for a couple of dollars, but everything belongs to Lord Krishna. So Krishna gives us food, but also the ability to digest the food. Just imagine if you are not able to digest, if there's no fire of digestion in our stomach, right? Krishna says, we do that even for Anna Prashna ceremony, so that the fire of digestion burns really well. So Krishna is so merciful. He gives us food and he gives us the ability to digest as well. And he says, I enter into each planet and by my energy, they stay in orbit. You can think of an aeroplane. Every time you look around, there's an aeroplane going. Wow, how is it such a heavy aeroplane made of metal is floating? Is because there is an intelligent person behind that. The technology is there, of course, but there is a pilot. Even when there is a drone, there is intelligence behind that. Somebody is operating that remotely, right? So there is Krishna's presence everywhere, right? Same way, the planet, heavy planet with everything, even Earth with all these tanks and elephants and everything is floating because of Krishna's energy. Rain cloud, if you see that, right? It pours and the entire city of Chennai gets inundated in no time. But when an aeroplane goes through it, you don't feel anything, right? So it goes through that same thunder cloud and you don't even feel anything. So it floats nicely. Of the bodies of water, I'm ocean. So somebody may go on vacation. You see this, Pacific Ocean, Indian Ocean, everything. You can only think of Lord Krishna. I'm the taste of water. We covered that. Water cannot be manufactured. So it's Aquafina and whatnot. They just bottle the water, right? So source of water is always rain or river or well or melting of glaciers, etc. And everybody needs this. Not only humans, but plants and animals and birds need water. So Krishna is merciful. So we can think, even when a bird is drinking water, we can think of Lord Krishna. So a few more, maybe I'm the strength of the strong. You can see all these Olympic weightlifters, etc. And some people pulling the train and aeroplane. You may come across all that. We can ignore the details that we don't need to think too much, but we can think of Lord Krishna because he's saying, I'm the strength of the strong. And I am time. So you see that he's repeating that a few times, that he's time, and one time and tide, wait for none. A moment lost is lost forever. So keep seeing the watch, and I'm seeing the watch now as well, as I'm keeping an eye on the time. It's 5:54. So Krishna is time. So let's use our time valuably. And when we look at the watch, every time we should think of Lord Krishna. And Krishna is saying that he's Yamaraj as well, among the dispensers of law. I am Yamaraj. So even I'm the all devouring death. So he repeats that a few times. So even when somebody dies, we can think of Lord Krishna. Of the purifiers is the wind, and fish is the shark, and rivers is the Ganges, immobile things is Himalayas. I just put that in a pictorial format. And everything that is opulent, beautiful, is just a spark of his splendor. We see a beautiful building, we see a beautiful car, doesn't matter. Don't think it's, get over that material part of it, but because that should be, wow, it's so beautiful because of Krishna, because he's saying everything is a spark of his splendor. Heat in the fire, when we are cooking, when there is a forest fire, room heater, we can think of Lord Krishna. Even if there's some great fireworks on a Victoria Day, Canada Day, splendor of the fire comes from Lord Krishna as well. So does Lord Krishna have only these 269 opulences that is described in 7th, 9th, 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita and in the 16th chapter of the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam? Absolutely not, because Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 10.19, they are just only very prominent ones I showed you. What is the point of me telling you everything? I'm just showing only very prominent one that Krishna says to Arjuna. And he's saying my opulence is limitless. Okay? And with a single fragment of myself, I pervade and support this entire universe. Everywhere we look, it is Krishna. And we can think of Lord Krishna. So within this world, there is nothing besides Krishna. So again, one more verse from the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Whatever is perceived by the mind, speech, eyes, or other senses is me alone and nothing besides me. So this 269 whatever opulences are there, which will help us, because these are common ones that we see when we are driving and when we're walking, etc. But here in this 11th canto, it says whatever is perceived, even by the mind, whatever we talk, whatever we see with our eyes, and any of the senses that perceive, it's all Krishna. So we can think of Lord Krishna. It's the jumping point, it's the trigger, it's the springboard for us to think of Lord Krishna. So whatever is explained in Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, is just a tiny speck of his limitless opulences. So we just have to keep our eyes open and look for Lord Krishna in everything that we see. So as a concluding part of what we wanted to present today, again, we have packed in a lot of information. You can see that it's not like we're covering one verse of Bhagavad Gita, but the entire gamut of verses that deals with actually that helps us. Every verse is helpful. It is critical for us. But here what we have done is we've extracted the verses that helps us to see Krishna everywhere. That Lord Krishna has given. It's not like we have manufactured this. This is as it is from Bhagavad Gita. We are just putting that under this bucket of seeing Krishna everywhere. Okay. So this is the concluding part. So again, we started out with how can we always think of Lord Krishna? How can we always see Lord Krishna? Through his opulences, energies, expansions that are described in Bhagavad Gita chapter 7, 9, 10, and 15, and in Srimad Bhagavatam 11.16. And also, of course, following the instructions, other instructions of Bhagavad Gita, Patram, Pushpam, Palam, Toim. When we offer things to Krishna, then we are able to see Krishna there. And also when we do our any activity, material activity as well, because Bhagavad Gita 9.27 says, Yat karoshi yadashnashi yat juhoshi dadatya. Everything that we offer it to Lord Krishna, then we are able to see Krishna, remember Lord Krishna, think of Lord Krishna all the time. So we're almost out of time. So His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So Prabhu, do we have any questions that we can, any reflections, thoughts? Yes,
for sure. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you so much for such a detailed and informative presentation as always, and for finding and identifying different ways which we can all remember Krishna on a regular basis. For all those who are listening to us from Zoom and Facebook, we do encourage you to ask any questions, or if you want to share any reflections, feel free to post it on the Zoom chat or on Facebook comments, and we'll be happy to take up any questions. So, Prabhu, while we wait for questions from the viewers, I had a personal question that I wanted to ask you. Naturally, trying to remember on a daily basis in whatever we do, you covered that aspect very well. Um, in Bhakti, there's also the process of chanting or japa. Um, how different is that from, say, trying to remember what you see, or trying to link on what you see? Which one is better? Sometimes people who are not so connected with the process of japa or mantra meditation,
Mhm.
um, which one should we focus on more if we are aspiring to practice?
So thank you, Prabhu. It's a great question. So Krishna says amongst he's Om, he's Japa, he's the holy names, as we can see, right? So when we are performing devotional service, of course, the instruction that is given to us by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada is, um, Krishna is not different from his name. So in this age of Kali, Krishna has appeared. Kali Kale Nama Rupa Krishna Avatar Nama Ityaya Sarva Jagat Nishta. So Lord Krishna has appeared in the form of his holy names, right? So there is no difference. Nama Chintamani Krishna Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha Purna Siddho Nitya Mukta Binatva Namanam. No, absolutely no difference between Krishna's name, Krishna's form, Krishna's paraphernalia, etc. In one way, everything is Lord Krishna. So there is no difference. But the instruction that is given to us when we're chanting the holy names of the Lord, we have to attentively hear the holy names of the Lord reverberating within us, right? So at that point in time, we are just hearing the holy names of the Lord very deeply. We are hearing. But in some cases, of course, it will flood our mind with all the beautiful pastimes of the Lord as well, which is part of the meditation as well. In this age of Kali, we cannot meditate for too long. That is why this chanting is given to us. But when we know more about Krishna, then it is easier for us to remember Lord Krishna, and also for us to chant Lord Krishna's name very well, right? Only when we know how great is Lord Krishna, then we will really chant Lord Krishna's name. So how can we know that Lord Krishna is great? How do we know? Only when we read the pastimes in Srimad Bhagavatam, and of course read the formula that is given in Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita was spoken in about, acharyas say, in about 45 minutes. So this is like a essence of the entire essence. Is like ghee is the essence of the milk. Sandalwood oil is the essence of the whole sandalwood tree. So that is what is the essence of this whole Upanishads, is Bhagavad Gita. But it's a headlines that is given in Bhagavad Gita. But for us to know more in our quest to understand Krishna more, is when we mirror this Bhagavad Gita with Srimad Bhagavatam. Krishna says, yeah, abandon everything and surrender unto me. How do you surrender? Okay, in Srimad Bhagavatam, is there how Draupadi surrendered when her sari was being disrobed, how Gajendra the elephant surrendered when this Uhu or the crocodile was trying to take him away or to kill him. So those, how is mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam, what is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita. So when we are actually chanting the names of the Lord, we are hearing the holy names of the Lord, because it's non-different from Lord Krishna. But what we see here is seeing Lord Krishna everywhere is to help us remember Lord Krishna outside the four walls of our home altar, outside the four walls of our temple, outside the time that we are chanting. We have to drive, we have to go buy grocery. How can we also during those times think of Lord Krishna through these sort of deflections? I won't say deflection, these are all manifestations, opulences. When we see here, it'll divert us to Krishna. See here, it'll divert us to Krishna. Does that answer the question, Prabhu? So sorry, it's a longer answer
Yes.
to your question.
Yes, no, thank you, bro. Thank you. It's just nice to hear your explanation to how other things are to help us remember. It definitely makes a lot of sense, and I think that's what the process of bhakti is about. We being able to connect and remember at every moment. And again, this slide, and especially your entire presentation for that matter, is it really lives up to the name of today's topic. So thank you so much, Prabhu, for putting your time. I don't
No,
see
not
any
at all.
questions, Prabhu, but many of them are appreciative of the class. Many of them are conveying Hare Krishnas and saying it's an informative session. I don't think anyone can disagree on that. So thank you. Any concluding final thoughts, Prabhu, before we wrap up for today?
So thank you again for this wonderful opportunity, Prabhu, because it's for all our purification and for us to remember Lord Krishna more, because this is something, it's a work in progress for all of us. Nobody can say that oh, so and so I'm thinking of Lord Krishna more than others, and that is why it is repeated many times in many different angles in Bhagavad Gita. Because if Krishna thinks it's so easy for all of us to remember him very easily, why would he give us 269, I think it was 269, right? So why would he give us so many different ways to remember him if it was so easy for us to remember? Then he would have just given one or two, and he would have said, yeah, think of me in all circumstances, material conditions, right? So we need to know this again and again. So we may have read these verses, we may have seen some of these pictures before, but repetition causes retention. So we have thrown a lot on all the devotees today because we have covered a lot. Even if you're able to take 10% of it and expand on that, right? Because it's for our benefit, it's not for Krishna's benefit, it's for our benefit. And time is running out. We have COVID and many other things that are happening. So in the limited time that we have, let's remember, let's see Krishna, let's think of Lord Krishna as much as possible. Again, it's not, we don't need to invent anything. It's all given by Lord Krishna. He's given us the intelligence as well to increase that time of our seeing Krishna, remembering Lord Krishna, thinking of Lord Krishna. If it is one person now outside of our altar, let's increase it to a greater percentage as we go through the next few days.
Absolutely. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you. There's a quick question, Prabhu. If it's okay, we'll just take one.
Sure.
It's sent by Seema. So she's asking, is chanting or remembering superior, or both are same, or both are equal?
So the 9 forms of devotional service, which is given to us by Prahlad Maharaj. He's actually chanting this verse in the 7th canto to Hiranyakashipu himself, because he didn't hear it from Sukracharya's 2 sons, Sanda and Amarka, but when he was in the womb of his mother Kayadu, he is hearing that. So that's when he heard that, and then he narrated that to Hiranyakashipu many years later. Of course, there are 64 forms of devotional service that Rupa Goswami taught us, even taking care of Tulasi, dancing before the deities, taking initiation. All these are part of various forms of devotional service. So the 9 forms of devotional service that Mother mentioned, couple of them is Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Sparanam, Pasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atma Nivedanam. So there are personifications for each one of them. Shravanam is hearing. Who is the personification of hearing? Is Parikshit Maharaj. He attained liberation just by hearing for the 7 days and 7 nights. Even though he was so thirsty, so hungry, he was so angry, he put that dead snake, Shamika Rishi's neck, and then Shringi cursed him. And then he was not even hungry, not even thirsty for 7 nights and 7 days, and he heard it. So he attained liberation just by hearing. Shravanam Kirtanam, Sukhdev Goswami, just by narrating Srimad Bhagavatam, he attained perfection. Shravanam Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, thinking of Lord Vishnu. We have many devotees. Prahlad Maharaj is, Prahlad Maharaj. Pada Sevanam, Lakshmi Devi, Archanam, Prithu Maharaj, etc. So we have different personifications. Of course, Bali Maharaj for everything. And it is said Ambarish Maharaj also for Atma Nivedanam, right? But whichever we are able to get to, so it gradually progresses towards Atma Nivedanam. But just if we are able to perfect a hearing or chanting, but Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is given us this chanting of this Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So from our perspective, from Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya perspective, chanting is very important, as we know, which is the foundational aspect of our God consciousness. But it is not just a standalone. With that perfection, yes, somebody can attain perfection, but then what Srila Prabhupada has given us is a combination of everything, right? All the combination of Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Pasevanam, Archanam, everything is included in our Krishna conscious activities within ISKCON temple. So personally, if we can focus on chanting and hearing, that will be great, because Pada Sevanam, how many of us we may be able to do that? Pada Sevanam, worshipping the Supreme Personality of God at feet, or like Lakshmi Devi can do. So hearing and chanting is cardinal for us as aspiring devotees.
Thank you, Prabhu. That's very beautifully explained. Yes, we have Bhagavatam with so many examples of amazing personalities who attain Krishna through the nine process, and of course, japa and chanting being the prescribed method of Mahaprabhu for this age. Yeah, thanks, Prabhu. Really explains and puts everything nicely for us. I think we'll conclude the session, Prabhu, for today. Thank you so much once again for preparing, answering all our questions, and like really such detailed and informative slides. So, really appreciate you taking the time, Prabhu. We hope to see you soon again. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaura Premanande. Hari Hari.
And to everyone else, thank you all for joining us today. We'll continue again next Sunday, same time, 5 p.m., same Zoom link. And as I mentioned earlier, our temple is open for darshans. Everyone is more than welcome to visit the temple during the weekdays between 4 a.m., 4:15 a.m. and 12 p.m. And on the weekends between 4:15 to 9 a.m. and 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. So the temple is open for walk-in darshans. Feel free to visit if you'd like to take darshan of the deities. Thank you all so much. We will see you again next week. Hare Krishna.